Hello, I just thought I'd do a quick video on some tips and tricks on fitting the Moto Guzzi engine bars, the ones supplied by Moto Guzzi themselves. Normally I don't have any trouble fitting things like this to bikes, but these particular ones I found a little bit awkward. I was doing it on my own and I don't know, I just found it a bit fumbly, so I thought I'd share a couple of things that made it a bit easier for me. So tip number one, get the proper instructions. When you buy the bars, they come with paperwork like this, and a lot of people complain and they say, oh, the instructions are really crap for putting these on. These are not the instructions. This is just some sort of very basic information that comes with the engine bars. It actually mentions the instruction manual here. I found it on one of the Facebook groups, I think it was. You can download the file, you can try searching for that, or maybe even ask a friendly dealer to print one off for you. These are the proper instructions. They have actual instructions and diagrams and steps on how to fit them. So unless you know exactly what you're doing, if you download a copy of these, it'll make your life a lot easier. Tip number two, the bars are fairly heavy and awkward, and there's 3 bolts to attach on each side. For me, what I found was a great help was just to fit the bottom bolt first, very loosely, so just so it supports the weight of the bars. You can still move them around, line up all the other bolts, but it just means if you're working on your own, I found it just made it a lot easier. Incidentally, the instructions tell you to remove this exhaust shield. These were pretty much seized in on my bike, I think, and actually I didn't need to remove this at all. So tip number 3 is just to take off the rear brake fluid reservoir. It's just one bolt here. Take the metal springy thing off, and you can just lift this away and move it to the side. It just makes manoeuvring the end of the bar into the right position a lot easier. I didn't find it necessary to remove anything else, just taking this off was enough. Some people actually take the whole thing off, but okay. Tip number 4 has to do with this bolt in here. This is the only sort of button cap hex bolt, and it goes here, and I think it's a button cap because there's hoses and things here, so it doesn't create any sharp edges for things to rub against. I found this one a real pain in the arse to get in, especially if you've got greasy fingers, you're trying to get an Allen key in at an awkward angle. I just found it really awkward to get the thread started with this. What made it easier for me in the end was to use one of these universal joint type doobly-doos. This is one from Halfords in the UK. I'm sure other makes are available. Basically it allows you, if you get it set up properly, you can get the thread spinning and then kind of angle the bolt until the thread catches. So for me, this just made that job a lot easier. If you can do it with a normal hex key, brilliant, just crack on. But if you're struggling, perhaps try one of these. You might find it just allows you to move that bolt around a little bit just to get the threads lined up. Okay, tip number 5 is to do with taking things off to get these 2 top bolts in. I took the horn off, just took it out of the way, unplugged it, and that gave me a little bit of space to get to the bolts. If I was doing it again, I would take the mudguard off. I wasn't quite sure how to take it off. I think actually it's probably only 3 or 4 bolts, I'm not quite sure, but this bit gets in the way and is a real pain in the backside. So if you can take this off, I think the whole job will be a lot easier because you'll be able to get straight onto the bolts in here. Tip number 6, and it does talk about this in the instructions, using my universal pointing device. Be very careful with these top bolts that you don't trap these wires or any wires that are running up the frame. If they do run close to the frame, you do have to pull them out of the way whilst you're seating the top of the engine bars. It would be very easy to trap those wires, so just be extra careful, and before you put everything back together, tighten everything up, just make sure any wires up at the front end here are clear of those brackets. If you look on YouTube, you can find videos of people fitting these. That's a big help as well. I fitted these before I started filming these videos, so I'm not going to take them off just to film myself fitting them when there are other videos around. Anyway, hope that was useful. Maybe see you on the next one. subscribe.